Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the part 2 of the virtual book club. What you see up there is the kind of a review of what we have, what we've covered the first part, and also, which I think is one of the most important parts of the situation, is the fact that if we can kind of read that together, you will see why it is so very important. It says, unconsciously, we are forming habits every moment of our lives. Some are habits of a desirable nature, some are those of a most undesirable nature. Some, though not so bad, bad in themselves, are exceedingly bad in their cumulative effects and cause us at times much loss, much pain and anguish, while their opposites would, on the contrary, bring us much peace and joy, as well as a continually increasing power. Have we it within our power to determine at all times what types of habits shall take form in our lives? In other words, is habit forming, character building a matter of mere chance, or have we it within our power or within our control? We have entirely and absolutely. I will be what I will to be, can be said and should be said by every human soul. So that is really the essence of today's part 2, even though that was, mainly in part 1. And the idea that we have control over who we become. We have control over who we become. I think that's not only exciting, that is an opportunity for us to be all that we can be, for sure, without a doubt. So we want to take that off the screen and welcome you in again to Unity of Chicago South, the #1 online New Thought spiritual community streaming from Chicago, no doubt. And they're streaming live from Chicago. And I guess that's one of the big things to know, that streaming live is a little bit different than streaming, right? When you're streaming live, that means that you have all the challenges and issues, but it's fresh. And you can always see the recording later on. But initially, we like to let folks know that it's a live stream. It's a live stream. And today, with the virtual book club, that's exactly what we have going on, a live stream. We got a lot of little things happening, so I hope that you are able to keep up and hang in there as we go through the various things. Now, there should be some people joining me on screen. I'm not sure where they might be or what that looks like, but we're going to keep it moving, keep it going. Now, I want to recap a little bit more of I want to say lesson. Some people say talk. It's certainly not a sermon. It's not a preaching. So let's say the talk. And the first thing after we read that opening statement or paragraph to remember that was covered in part 1 is the fact that each individual, each one is so apt to think that their own conditions, their own trials or tribulations or troubles or sorrows our own struggles, as the case may be, are greater than those of the masses, or possibly greater than those of anyone else in the world. And I think I mentioned this last week, the fact that if you took your problems and put them on the wash line, and I know many of you don't know what a wash line is, and some of you don't, some of you do, but if you took them and put them on a wash line, that you would see yours hanging out, and then you'd see other people's hanging out, and then you would say, you know, mine are not so bad when I look at others, and you take yours back in. We tend to think that whatever we're going through is the worst thing in the world, and when you realize that our universe is centered on us, it makes sense. But when we expand our consciousness and realize that it's a part of life, and it's not so much what we're going through, but how we are going through it, that makes the big difference. Again, as we continue, just to recap a little bit of the first part one. Whatever change that we want to make, it says, each has his own problems to work out. Each must work out his own problems. Each must grow the insight that will enable them to see what the causes are that have brought the unfavorable conditions into their life. Each must grow the strength that will enable them to face these conditions and to set and operate into operation forces that will bring about a different set of conditions. This, the doing, however, must be done by each one for himself. So the logic here, or the thinking here, when we think about the title, Character Building Through Thought Power, is the fact that the thought is behind everything. And we spent a lot of time on that last week. The thought is behind everything. So if there are conditions in our lives that we don't want, or that are uncomfortable to us, that, we seem to have gotten through just being in the wrong place at the wrong time, or whatever it might be, we don't have to worry about so much what caused us to be there, but we have to deal with the fact that not what caused us, but how do we get out of it. And the same thing that got us there is the same thing that will take us out of the situation. We're going to take some of these out, and let's see where our guests are.
Still spinning.
Okay. So with that being said, let's move on and continue our kind of recap. And I just really touched on that. Thought is at the bottom of all progress or regression, of all success or failure, of all that is desirable or undesirable in human life. Again, we get back to thought. How do we think? And it's understanding the proper thinking. I think that's one of the things that Unity of Chicago South and some of the other programs that we have, it's all about how we think, but it's not meant to be seen as something so simple or a piece of cake, so to speak. It's meant to be seen as the solution. If I can adjust my thought, if I understand the right way to think, I make my life easier. I may not change the situation physically. If there's been a physical change in my life, I may not be able to reverse that, but I can deal with how I live with it or live through it. And that will affect my entire being, my entire life. Again, as we just do hopefully a quick recap of part one, so we can get into part two. And let's get this last little piece up. We need to remember that as we go through this process of how did I get here? How did my thinking get me here? I understand now, and I want to use this thinking to get me out of here. And the thing about that is that sometimes we have a tendency to be a little, how would I say it? A little in need of change quickly. I don't want to use the other word, but in need of change quickly. And in order to do that, there's nothing I can do about that. We can say that there's nothing I can do about that. There's nothing I can do about that at all. It's going to take as long as it's going to take to get it done. So we have to have patience, in other words. There's nothing I can do about what's happened there. There's nothing I can do about the speed of change. There's nothing I can do about the various things that are required. But I can do something about patience. I can do something about focusing on enduring through the process. That's what we have. That's what we can change. That's what we can address. And understand, the last thing on the recap is that it is the reiteration, the constant reiteration of the thought that grows the power of continually stronger thought focusing and finally brings whatever it is we're going for into manifestation. So the patience is that I'm going to keep on. That's where the patience is from. Not the patience I'm waiting for it to change. The patience is I'm willing to continue this change process and do what's necessary on my part, and that's to continue to think the different thought that's necessary to get me out of wherever I am right now. To get me out of, again, I'm not trying to change the situation. I'm trying to change my perspective and the way I'm going through the situation. And if we can get that part, really understand that, that's happened. You know, it's not a lot I can do about the past. Very little. One of the things that I use in some of my talks is the fact that the one thing that God, Spirit, universe is unable to do is to change the past. So if the power that created us cannot, then why do we think we can? So if it cannot be done, why are we lamenting over it since it can't be done? Now that's, those are words. You might say they're flowery words, but it takes a certain amount of energy and strength to be able to pull that off. But it begins with understanding, if I'm trying to change the past, I'm working on something that cannot be done. And at some point we might get it and say, okay, I need to stop using my energy, using my life energy on something that cannot be done. And what can be done, and how can I focus that life energy? Part 2, let's move right into it. There is character building not only for the young, but for the old as well. Hello? Hello? Not just for the young, but the old as well. For everyone. Yes, yes, yes. So we're never too old to strike out to change our thoughts. What? We're never too old to strike out to change our thoughts. We're never too old to strike out and change our thoughts. Yeah, because see, it's a process. It doesn't matter whether we're young or old, it's a process. If we're senior or seasoned or fresh and young, it's a process. It doesn't change. We may have more to overcome because we have such a level of negativity, or incorrect thinking. There may be more, but it's possible. We're told, in fact, by our author that as long as there's life, there's a possibility of change. As long as there's life force, there's a possibility of change. Now just give that. No matter where I'm at, no matter what my situation is, there's a possibility to change. Because why? I got here through a process of thinking, accepting other people's thoughts, programming, whatever it is. This is how I got here. So if change is required, I can use the same process that contributed to the creation of this scenario, this situation. And I can, I can use that process to create what I need to create going forward. I can use that same process to create what I need to create going forward. So the process doesn't change because there is an age, because we are seasoned, as they say. It doesn't change it at all. if one would have a beautiful and attractive old age, they must begin in youth and in middle age. Okay, so saying, I'm here now. You just told me I could change, but now you're saying I should have started when I was younger or in middle age. Absolutely. That's a hint to the younger people in middle age. If you don't want to have the challenges of changing in a seasoned time of your life, then start to change now. But again, let's get back to the fact that as long as there is life, it says right here, if, however, they have neglected or failed to do this, they can then wisely adapt themselves to circumstance and give themselves zealously to putting into operation all necessary counterbalancing forces and influences. What? What does that mean? The world is bad, it's been bad all my life. The politics are terrible, my vote doesn't count. All the things that we may have done to ourselves over a period of time. To say, you know what, maybe I was incorrect. Just take one small thing. Maybe I was incorrect. Maybe my vote does count. Maybe I was incorrect. The world is not the worst place to be. In fact, it's joyous being in this life. Maybe I was incorrect. You see, I know I had all these thoughts in the past, but I don't think they've served me well. Look at my life at this point. And whatever years I have left, I want them to be joyous as possible. And how can they become joyous as possible? They're joyous as possible when, yes, when we are able to accept the fact that we want more, we want different, we want change. And then realize that there was a process that got us to wherever we are, good, bad, or indifferent. And that process works all the time. It's a universal principle. So therefore, I can think my way into a new consciousness, and creating a new consciousness creates a new way of looking at life. I think my way into a new consciousness, and my consciousness, this new consciousness, has me looking at life differently. Looking at life differently has me looking at me differently. You see how that works? So I'm not too old to do that. I'm not too seasoned to do that. I may be stuck in my ways and decide that I don't want to spend the energy, but that has nothing to do with me being in this particular season of my life. There's a difference. And I think it's important that we understand the difference. Understanding the difference means I may not want to change. I choose to be this miserable. I choose to live the rest of my life in this just pressurized position. You say pressurized? Yeah, because things are not beautiful, things are not pretty, things are not joyous. That's pressure. That's pressure to stay here. And that's what I choose to do. Or I choose to change. I don't know how I can change, but I'm hearing that my thoughts got me here, and I can start thinking differently no matter what the situation is, because I know that I cannot change what has happened. See how that works? You see? You don't see? Yes, you do. You see how that works. It's just that is work. I don't know if I want to do that much work. Why not? What else you got to do? Huh? What else is that you have to do other than having the best life possible for the rest of your life? It is well to find our center earlier, and if not earlier, then late. But late or earlier, the thing to do is to find it. Here again. It would have been better if I did it back then, but I can't change that I didn't do it back then. So I'm going to do it now. I need to find my center now. And that center is not a human center. It is that spiritual center that you can't see. That life force that is in you, that's in each one of us that are communicating right now. You're watching, I'm talking. Each one of us. It's right there. It's there. So I want to find that center and then begin to live from that center. If I can. Now, I may not want to spend the time. I may not want to put forth the energy to do it, which is fine. That's a choice. We're human beings. We have free will. But what this talk today is about is that if you want to, you can. And you're not being criticized, being beat down if you don't want to. That's your choice. And nothing's wrong with whatever you choose. Nothing at all, whatever you choose. Okay, so then the choice is yours. Do I want to enhance the rest of my life? Yes or no? Well, you're talking about, man, I don't have no money. I don't have no friends. I have been misused. Guys have misused me. Women have misused me. Whatever the case may be. But how do you want to go forward? How do you want to go forward? Well, maybe if I change the way I think about life, I can change life treating me. It's a possibility. Why not try it? Why not try it? Now again, this is saying you're never too old to change. You're never too young to change either. You're never too young to change either. So whatever path you might be going down, if you don't want that path to continue, then you can change it. You have to change the way you see life. You see, changing how you live your life cannot change unless you change how you see life. So if I see life as, it's going to be over at 25, it's going to be hard to change the way you live your life. If I see life as, well, at this age, I'm set in my ways and that's just how it goes. It's hard to change your life. But when you look at life, when you want to see life differently, you have to change how you see it. So I'm no longer believing that I only will make it to 23. Excuse me. Or I'm no longer thinking that this is the end, nothing can happen good. You see, it doesn't matter what spectrum, what part of the spectrum you're on in living life. You could be on the early or the latter. It's the thinking that has to be adjusted in order to give the life itself an opportunity to change. It's all about the thinking, but it's not just having thoughts. You know, sometimes in New Thought we get into, boy, if you can just think about a red bike, or you could think about a wagon, or you could think about a car, and you can visualize it, and then you'll get it. And people do that, understand that. They connect. But the point is it things you want, or is it life you want to change? So if you connect to get that, whatever that thing is, house, car, person, whatever, are you willing to continue thinking and visualizing, or whatever you're doing, going forward with your life so you can get the other beautiful things in life? You say, what beautiful things? That one object is not all the be-all, the end-all. It's not. There's more to it. The actual life lived itself. And the same thing that got you the thing, the same type of thinking, can be adjusted so that it can affect the life that you live. Let's keep on moving. Let's keep on moving. Okay. I think this is really outstanding. He says, to me, we are here for divine self-realization. That's that center. The divine self is that center. And it's the realization of connecting with it, finding it, allowing it to express through us. He says, we progress in the degree that we manipulate wisely all things that enter into our lives, and that make the sum total of each one's life experience. Let us be brave and strong in the presence of each problem as it presents itself, and make the best of it. Let us help the things we can help, and let us be not bothered or crippled by the things we cannot help. The great God of all is watching and manipulating these things most wisely, and we need not fear or even have concern regarding them. That should, for some of us, bring us into a saying. Help me change the things I can. Okay? Accept the things I cannot change and know the difference between them. Right? Same thing. Because if I know the things I can change, if I get the energy, the direction on, you can change that, and I put my energy there, the things that I cannot change just pass away. Because my focus, my energy, my thinking is on, oh, I can change this. How can I change it? What do I need to do? How can I change my thinking so that I can change the situation that I'm facing right now? So I can see it differently, so it'll affect me differently. Again, even though part 2 is really, okay, you're never too old to change, the same laws, the same rules, the same procedures apply to all ages. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. To live our highest in all things that pertain to us, to lend a hand as best we can to all others for the same end, to aid in righting the wrongs that cross our path by means of pointing the wrongdoers to a better way, and thus aiding them in becoming a powerful good, to remain in nature always sweet and simple and humble, and to therefore strong to open ourselves fully and to keep ourselves as fit channels of the divine power to work through. How do we allow that center to come forward? What is it that we can do? That was the formula. If we want to live to our highest, it's to allow that divine center that he talks about to come through and express as our lives. Wow. I've got to let go and let God. But how do I know how to let go and let spirit? How do I know to let go and let the Creator? How do I know to let go and let, I have to change my thinking. If I've been in control and everything, I need to change my thinking. If I think that there's something outside of me that's going to save me, I need to change my thinking. Not that there won't be something outside of you that saves you. That does not change. What changes is that I see it differently. 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 It's there to assist me, but I do my part. I do my part, and my part tends to be a little bit more than just praying and waiting. There's some activity, some actions that I can take. Now, it's not always work. Sometimes it's the work of changing the way I think. So it's not always physical work. It's a spiritual, mental work of changing the way I think. Am I worthy? I don't think I'm worthy. Then I need to change the way I think. And if I just continue to remind myself that I'm worthy, I will see life differently. Not necessarily being arrogant, but seeing life differently. I'm I'm this, I'm old. Not that, but okay, I'm worthy. So this center, this divine center, I'm worthy of it expressing in my life, coming through to express in my life, to support, to give, to guide. I'm worthy of that. I'm not some worm in the dust. I'm created by the Creator. So I'm worthy of that. Change the way I think, you see. Change the way I think. The life of everyone is in their own hands. and they can make of it in character, in attainment, in power, in divine self-realization, and hence in influence exactly what they will it to make it, what they will it to be. Now, you can't tell me my life is in my own hand because you don't know my situation. You're right about part of that. I don't know your situation. But this is a universal law. So that means it applies no matter what your situation is. For you to grab hold and take your life in your hand may be more difficult than someone else. We're not talking about the level of difficulty. What we're talking about is the possibility of it being done. There's a difference. So when someone says, you can do this, you say, oh, you just don't know about my situation. Know that you're right, they don't. They don't know your situation. If I was in your shoes, I could do that. You're right. You think you could in their shoes, but you don't know their situation. Remember the clothesline? What they're saying to you is that no matter what your situation is, there's a principle that will allow you to take control. So what does control look like? Because I have to rethink control because I'm confined. I'm dependent, whatever it may be. So what does that look like now? No matter who I am, no matter where I am, I can control my thinking. So no matter what they say about me, no matter how they categorize me, it's what I think of myself that matters. If there were no African American, Negroes, black people that thought more of themselves than the people that bought them, they never owned them. Can't own another human being. You can make them believe you own them. You can, in your mind, put in your mind that you own them, but you don't own them. But if there weren't people who thought that understood that changed their thinking no matter what was said to them, boy, girl, then our lot as black people in this country would have never changed. And it didn't take all of us to change the way we thought. It took a small handful to change the way that they thought and taught that new way of thinking to others, shared that new way of thinking with others, sometimes by gunpoint, right? You're gonna keep moving. So there's an example of a situation, a negative situation, slavery. But yet there was some that understood, maybe they didn't understand all these words, but there was a principle that they got hold to that said that they were something other than what they were being told. And even though someone said, we own you, you are nothing, they said, yeah, okay, I hear you. That's not the way I see it. So now let's get back to us right now today. How do we see it? Doesn't matter your color. How do you see your life? How do we see our life? And are we willing to be honest? Because we can't build character through thought power if our thought power is weak. If it's incorrect. So if you've been told that you are something, you just old and tired, you just stop believing it. You have to think differently. I'm old, I'm tired, but I'm wise. So I can accept the thing that I'm wise. I can't change how they think about me. I know the difference, and now let me work on how do I express my wisdom. Good stuff, isn't it? And again, doesn't matter what age, even though we're saying that you're never too old to change, that you never are too seasoned to change. The one who takes sufficient time in the quiet mentally to form their own ideas, sufficient time to make and keep continually their conscious connection with the infinite, with the divine life and forces, is the one who is best adapted to the strenuous life. What is the strenuous life? Changing. That's, if change was easy, everybody would do it, right? If change was easy, everyone would do it. Why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it? Yeah. So the strenuous life that he's referring to here is the life of changing the way that I think. It's not something outside, but in order to do it, we have to find quiet time. We have to find time to get away from all the thoughts that have brought us to where we are if we are at a place that we don't want to be. 5 minutes, 5 hours, whatever it may be, and it's certainly not 5 hours a day. I mean, he actually talks about that to people that just stay in the meditation, as he talks about the Orient, the East, but don't do the work. So there has to be a balance between what I think and how I change the way I think, and then taking action. So I thought myself into this situation. I'm not going to question how those thoughts happen. I believe in the principle, if I thought myself in this situation, I can use that same process to move into a better situation, a situation that I want. But thinking alone is not going to do it. I need to think, allow the center, the divine center, to come forth and provide direction and guidance, and then act on that direction and guidance. All of that process. So I get quiet so that that which is within me I can hear. Because it's always speaking, but now I want to hear it. And I want to hear it knowing that I need my thinking adjusted. I'm not arguing, I'm not fighting, I'm not saying it was bad. I'm saying I need my thinking adjusted because I'm not where I want to be with my life. This is not what I want with my life. I'm no longer going to blame those folks outside that did me wrong. They did me wrong, but somehow I put myself in that position to be done wrong. I forgive myself, I forgive them to the degree that I can, but right now I'm not dealing with forgiveness. I'm dealing with how do I think differently so I don't continually put myself in situations. Well, I'm gonna get quiet. I'm gonna get quiet. That's where I start. Shut it down. Shut it down. Well, but I'm still thinking. It's okay. You're shutting down all this noise outside for 5 minutes, for 15 minutes, for a half an hour, for an hour. You're just coming into a quietness because now you know, you've accepted the fact that within you is a power willing to speak to you, to guide you, to offer you opportunity to change. Opportunity to change, yeah. If you think like this, that's an opportunity to change. So I'm offering you opportunity to change. But I can't give it to you because you keep the noise going. And when you stop the noise, you listen for me, but you don't hear me, so you don't keep listening. You don't come back, as we talked about earlier, repetition. This is not going to change overnight. Now we're talking, again, the seasoned folks and the folks waiting to be seasoned. It doesn't matter your age. It's not going to happen overnight, but it will happen. You say, well, mine happened overnight. Good. But you don't go in, oh, it's going to happen tomorrow. No, it's going to happen. I don't deal with how long it's going to take. I just know it's going to happen. Will I get flustered? Sure. And I need to let that be known. Hey, I'm flustered. It's taken a while. But I know that I got here through the thinking, and I know my thinking changing will get me to the next level that I want to be, that I choose to be at. Not the one that they gave me, that they're telling me about. But the one I say, this is the one I want. This one right here. This level of living, this level of life is what I want. And one of the ways that I get here is changing my thinking. Because my thinking changes my consciousness, and my consciousness changes the way that I see things. And if I see things differently, then they become different for me in manifestation. I'm just saying. Now we have one, I hope we can get this one I want to share with you. Okay. There's some needs here, and I hope you can read those with me. We need this to get the kinks out of our mind, this quiet time, this come apart, and hence out of our lives. First out of our minds, still on that thinking platform. First out of our minds, and then out of our lives. Sometimes we just want it out of our lives, but we don't want to stop thinking about it. We just want it gone. But first, let's get it out of our minds. And know that as I let it out of my mind, as I let it go, as I let the thoughts go, it leaves my life. We need this to form better and higher ideals of life. This quiet time to just anticipate what can be, to visualize what's possible. Not where we are, but what's possible. You say, that's a dream. No, this is quiet time and contemplation, focused contemplation. Knowing that I need to be quiet so I can see life differently. I need to be quiet so I can let this thing go. Because I'm not going to do the work to let it go, because I can't let it go, because every time I try to let it go, I think about it, and when I think about it, it's still there. But if I get quiet, knowing that there's something greater than this human experience in me, driving me, keeping me moving, and allow it to take that thought. Because once the thought is gone, so is the situation. We need this in order to see clearly in mind the things upon which we would concentrate and focus the thought forces. I need to get quiet so whatever it is that I want, I can focus on it. And knowing that when I focus on it, I am focusing my thoughts on it, and my thoughts have power and force, and those thoughts that with the power and force go forth into whatever it is I'm thinking on. Now, I don't know what it is. You might want something, or you might want to get rid of something. So I'm not going to project what it is. But I'm saying whatever it is, he's telling us here that we can release our thought power in it. We can release that thought energy in it when we get quiet. Yeah. Peace, joy, love. Okay. And then the final one. let's see one. Yeah. We need this in order to make continually anew and to keep our conscious connection with the infinite. We need this in order that the rush and hurry of our everyday lives does not keep us away from the conscious realization of the fact that the spirit of infinite life and power that is behind all. We need to get quiet to realize what power we possess. Because when you get quiet, you're able to go in, and when you go in, you're able to release out. And what's out here is, it seems like everyone has control over what I do, where I go, what I say. They tell me I must do it this way or that way. I've got to go over here, I've got to go. But when you get quiet, he's telling us when you get quiet, you're connected with the truth of you. And it's not, I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to go to work anymore. I don't have to listen to them anymore. No, there's something in me that's more powerful than all the things that are happening outside of me. And I want it to come forth. I want to allow it to come forth. I want to allow it to be more active in my life. I don't know what that looks like sometimes. I just know that, right? This is not what I want. But I have something greater than I'm carrying around, been carrying around all my life. And I choose to allow it to express itself even a more full expression in my life. To be a more full expression in my life, an active expression in my life experience. Wow. Doesn't matter your age, if you're seasoned or fresh. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And then when we're doing things like that, he says that the consciousness of the Creator becomes a living reality in our lives. And in the degree in which we become it becomes a reality, does it bring us into the realization of continually increasing wisdom, insight, and power. So it's just what I was saying there. The more we do this, the more we attempt to connect with the quiet, connect with that center, the more we do it, the more we allow it to express its fullness beyond our wildest possibility of thinking. We have no idea of a full expression of your divinity, that energy that's your life force right now. I think a good place to end today's virtual book club is something that Reverend Bobby shared with me recently. We were talking about consciousness, and we were talking about the various things that we talk about. And he said that I feel like I'm expanding more into the realization and expression of consciousness. I'm expanding more into it. And I said, wow, how powerful is that? You know, we're taught to think, well, there's a level here, and then there's another level of higher level and another level. There's nothing wrong with that. Please, I'm not putting that down. I'm merely saying that to think of it in a different way, have a new thought, that I'm expanding more into the fullness of consciousness, because consciousness is infinite. There's always more. And I recognize it, but I also recognize that I'm expanding more into it. And that's what it's all about. That's what I'd like to leave you with today. You're working to expand yourself more into the divine consciousness that's within you already. And you can. and you can. So I want to thank you so much for being with us on this special part 2 of the June 2024 virtual book club. The reading is Character Building Through Thought Power, or Character Building Thought Power, excuse me. It's still available on our website, Unity of Chicago South. You can go and read the whole chapter, download it, it is free. So thank you again so much for being here. Until next time, our first week in July, our guided meditation, I say namaste and be good to yourself so yourself can be good to you.